What would I do if I only had 1 week to live? I'd have the biggest party you could possibly imagine. I'd invite every friend and family member, my kids, my sisters and brothers in law, my nieces, nephews, parents, in laws, everyone. I would just want to have everyone I love together, enjoying themselves and remembering why we loved each other and what was the best of everything we'd done. Um, we're Catholic mostly, and we would expect to see each other again one day. And I just want to go out telling everyone why I loved them and how proud I am of them. Um, and I'd move forward. And that's what I'd do if I had only 1 week to live. But Katie asked me to share part of my history. And so I'm going to tell my story. On May 12th, 2015, I was coming home from work. I was on a train from Washington, D.C. to New Jersey. And the train was traveling at 100 miles an hour when it started going around some curves, and it swayed back and forth. And we were absolutely positive that the train was going to go over. And my first thought was, I didn't get to say goodbye to anybody. And that's why, if I only had a week to live, I would want to get everybody I've ever loved together and make sure they knew it. But not just that. Remember the good times, not the difficult times. There's so many people who touch you in this world, and I'd like to have that party. But on the train, when I thought, oh my God, I didn't get to say goodbye to the people I love, I meant my kids and my husband and my parents and my sisters. One of the things about not knowing when you're going to die is that people seem to think you will have time to say goodbye. And you often don't. And if you do have time to say goodbye, it's because you have some health issue, and so you're not healthy at the end of it. I don't know if Katie thought that people would answer the question, well, if I'm lying sick in a bed for a week and I can't do anything, or if it was, you'll still be 21 and healthy and working and have lots of money. But I know that that's how I lived and how most people live. I'll be able to say goodbye, and I'll be able to say goodbye when I'm healthy and strong, not when I'm on a deathbed and people have to come to me. So I didn't know. There's nothing you can do about it. You're on a train going 100 miles an hour, and it's about to flip over, and it feels like it, and the next thing you know, it is going over. There's no doubt in your mind. There's noises and sounds and screams and problems, and you know you're going over. And I was knocked unconscious. And when I came to, I was suspended from the ceiling of the train, and I had been unconscious, and my absolute first thought then was, oh my God, I can't believe it. Thank you, Lord. I am alive. I did not expect to be, and I was. So Katie asked me to talk a little bit about living with dying. What in my life changed from before to after. Uh, So some things are very hard to predict. I have been doing educational research, policy research for a few years, working in the K to 12 arena and some in the graduate school arena and post secondary. And you do this because you want to help as many people as possible. You believe that policies are meant to help large groups of people, usually in this case, poorer students and sometimes minority-based students. And, we're going to figure out what helps them most, and we're going to make changes in policy, and we're going to do research to make sure we're really helping them, and we'll move on. But it turned out that the train accident I was on didn't have to happen. There's a piece of hardware that can be installed that would keep a train from going faster than a certain limit at a certain place on a track. And this policy was recommended by the National Traffic Safety Board beginning in the 1960s. So 50 years of Amtrak being told by the NTSB, if you do this, it will save lives. And in the 2010s, it became law that they had to do it, but they kept getting extensions, and even after the train derailed and there were fatalities on this track, there were more extensions. And even yet, 3 years later, not all tracks have this safety feature. And one of the side effects, or one of the consequences, I guess, of that was I no longer feel that working on national policy accomplishes anything. So when you're living with dying, you really feel a imperative to help others, whether they're people like me, whatever that means, whether they're people who suffered concussions, whether they're people who are trying to navigate the healthcare system, whether they are adults who want to go back to work. Whatever it is, I no longer trust the political system to do it, and that is partially because, the current political climate, etc. But in terms of living with dying, society didn't care. They made a choice to take the more economical route, and I don't want to be part of that anymore. I don't want to deal with federal policy where people try and get around things or don't care. I want to deal with the local, smaller community efforts that will allow you to feel you're helping other people. So another thing I learned out of all that is helping people doesn't have to mean being a doctor or an emergency technician, although I cannot say enough about how wonderful those people have been in my world for the last 3 years. But if you know you're going to die at some point, and in some ways you feel like you're living on gravy, if you didn't think you were going to wake up when you were knocked unconscious, if you're like, I'm going to die and the train is going over and I didn't get to say goodbye to my family, and then you come back, you want to make every second count. And so you realize that what counts is reaching people, whether it's joking around or holding a door as somebody older, shuffles through it, whether it's um, saying hi to strangers, or whether it's doing some kind of research that helps other people. Um, I haven't gone back to that level of work, partially for health reasons, but I've stopped hiding in my room, um, and just thinking about what's going to make it better. I've tried to get out. And so one of the ways I've done that is I actually work as a receptionist in my physical therapist's office. Um, I can help people simply by making the process of making appointments simpler and more straightforward for them. You're not in a physical therapist's office unless you're not feeling well, and you can help them um, by smiling, by explaining things, by helping them do paperwork, by making appointments that fit their schedule, by helping them talk to um, their caretakers to get what they need. And you don't have to be paid to help people. And helping people feels good. And doing things just because feels good. And you still don't know whether tomorrow's the last day. You sort of feel sometimes like, hey, I have a second lease on life. I, thought I was going to die and I didn't. So I must, somebody owes me. God owes me a really long life now. He like taunted me with this, and so now, hey, I'm starting over. But it's almost like always at the back of your mind at some place, it's like, okay, you never know when it's going to happen. So take it easy. Take the loving way, take the kind way, take the something better about life way. Doesn't turn you into a saint or anything. Just ask my family. But little things don't matter anymore. If you might actually die a week from now, why did you want to bitch about, who's going to do the snow shoveling or assemble the furniture? Why bitch about whose turn it is to do dishes or whatever else, You just realize that so much didn't matter. So you realize that you don't have an infinite amount of time. You don't know whether it's going to be next week or next year or the next decade, but you don't have an infinite amount of time. And you also realize that so much of what you wanted to accomplish or places you wanted to go or see or things you wanted to do require physical health. And so I started making changes about doing those things while I could. And so, for instance, we went out to see the national parks. Grand Canyon, I'd never been there, and Zion National Park, Bryce, the Navajo Nation. Just experiencing a world I'd never experienced before. And it was wonderful, and it was relaxing, and it was so much fun to be with my husband and spend time alone, because it still could be today or tomorrow, and I wanted to have a trip like that with my kids, who are not kids. So we thought about a place that nobody in our family had ever been before. And so this coming summer, we're going to go to Greece. We're going to spend time together, and we're just going to be together in a new place and spend, create happy memories. Um, I'm so proud of my kids, and I don't know that they know I love them, and I think they know I'm proud of them. Uh, but sometimes it's just the being with people that matters. And that's why the simple answer to what I would do if I had only 1 week to live was have the biggest party I could and show everyone how much I love them and how wonderful life can be and how joyous and how much fun. And even when there's serious problems and real issues in this world, sometimes what you can do best is smile at somebody, uh, carry a package, give somebody a ride up the street, um, help somebody get to a doctor. You know, we all have to work to pay our bills, um, but maybe we don't have to try so hard to accomplish huge things. Maybe little things are what matters. You know, one of the harder gospel readings to understand for me is um, Jesus, not so much the washing of the apostles' feet per se, but, the first shall be last and the last shall be first. And yet, as Americans, we want to go out and change the world. We don't just want to change our family or have a nice little life. We want to be somebody. And so did I. And so do I. But I've changed what that means. I want to be somebody who helps others and uses my education and my experiences to just make it easier for other people. And so I try and act that way every day because I don't really want it to be my last day and like I don't want to be on a train and think, holy shit, this wasn't the day. I mean, I didn't mean to go this day, Lord. Couldn't you have taken me yesterday? I was a really great person yesterday. Why are you taking me today? I don't have big regrets. I married a man I loved, and I still love him 31 years later. I have 3 wonderful kids. They're young men and women that I can be so proud of. Um, they're wonderful people as well. I've been to a lot of places I want to be. I've helped a lot of people. I've challenged myself. I've gotten education. I do have major goals that I haven't accomplished yet, but I will get to them. But if not, it was better just to be a person who spread love the last few years, or lived love, or showed it by example. And it makes me sound like I think I'm some kind of saint, and I'm not. I'm really not. Um, I can get very impatient. I uh, can be lazy. I can sort of be like, why me? It's not my turn to deal with something. It's not my turn to have to do the chores. It's not my, you know, somebody else should do that, not in my backyard, all of the worst stuff. But at least I've done my best to, when it came down to, will this be something that, I guess it's if I'm going to die today, was it the better of two alternatives? At the end, Was it a net positive? Um, and when I want to try things that are new, things that are, when I want to do things that are on a typical bucket list, because you only have a week to live, I don't put off those things anymore. I had a lifelong dream of living down the shore, and I'm now living down the shore. Well, sort of, you know. I live in Cranford and in New Jersey, um, but I'm down the shore right now. It's where I want to be. I feel peace here. I feel love here. I'm outside more. Um, it's just things I've wanted for a long time. And I'm of the end of the baby boomer generation and raised by very conservative parents. And you're supposed to save your money because you never know when you might need it. And it might be a rainy day. And, you know, what if all these bad things happen? Well, the bad things already happened. And we got through it. And why just plan for the next bad thing to happen? So we're getting a boat and we're getting a jet ski and we're still saving money and we're not wasting it away, but we're sharing it with people who need it, and we're helping with the charities that matter most. And living with dying means to me living life to the full now while you're healthy and while you can, and trying not to hurt others, and doing your best and finding something you're passionate about and you love, and using that to spread goodness, to spread love, that and caring about other people, and just getting up and doing that day after day after day, and along the way laughing and having fun. You know, before the injury, my mission in life, it's written on my laptop and has been since before the accident: joyfully living, loving, laughing, learning, and serving. And there's so many ways to do all that. And if it happens again, and it's at the last second, whether it's a heart attack or a car accident or falling off of a bridge or a train accident, I will still probably think, God, I didn't get to say goodbye to my family. Because you always think you're going to be able to say goodbye. And I still think that, even though I know that some of the people on my train didn't get to say goodbye. But I hope I've lived more in a way that they don't have a sense of non-closure, a sense of, well, did my mom love me? Did my mom think I was a good person? Did my mom care about me? You know, yes, 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 yes. And to the extent that I didn't show it, I'm sorry, and I keep trying to show that, to add love to the world. So, I'm coming up on 25 minutes, Kate. You said make it as long or as short as I want, and to say everything I wanted to say. So, I guess the only thing I'd want to add, so I have my Fordham sweatshirt on. So you know I went to a Jesuit school. I do want to just add a little bit on that. I really and truly believe that God kept me safe through the accident, through the actual shaking back and forth and running off the tracks and going down the incline and flipping onto its side. Angels, a spirit, God, I don't know what it was. But it was something of God. And I guess I might think that there's something he still wants me to accomplish. And I think that he wants me going in a different direction than I was going before. But I haven't figured all that part out. I do know that I've never felt why didn't you keep me from getting hurt? You know, why, Lord, didn't you stop that accident? I don't know if it's because I've never been intellectually curious enough to wrestle with that question of why do bad things happen. I was told about free will when I was younger, very young age, and can edit a Kate, but shit happens. And one of the interesting things about life is that even when stuff happens, even when bad stuff happens, more people survive it than succumb. The World Trade Center, given the thousands of deaths, there were many, many more people who survived. That's true with tsunamis and earthquakes and the Black Plague and AIDS. And I don't know if that's God saving us there or not. What I know is I've always believed in God, and I felt his presence at that time. I living with dying have come to believe that having faith in something and doing your best to live by that is the important thing. I have my own personal beliefs, and I have gotten great strength through prayer and community in the church. I have felt forgiveness in the church. I have started to forgive Amtrak in church. Some church members prayed with me for that at my request, that I let go of my anger and my pain, and I'm better for it. So my living is better having letting go of my fear of dying, or that's not the right phrasing. My living is better because I've stopped thinking that they were ever deliberately trying to hurt people. Their decisions had less than optimal consequences, but they're human and they did the best they could at the time too. Sometimes I believe that more than others, but I do know that forgiving them made my living better. And that's a very new thing this past Lenten season. So, what else do I want to say? I want to say that living life to its fullest is about people and experiences. It is not about things. And I believe, and have always believed, the gospel story where if God takes care of the sparrows in the field, how much more will he take care of us? I don't think that means that everybody wins the lottery, everybody gets everything they want. And I have come to believe that nobody's really happy being unproductive. What productive means does not have to mean having a 40-hour-a-week job that earns lots and lots of money so that you can have lots and lots of things. But you must be doing things for other people. You must be giving back. You have to be engaged in the world. That's what living is. And when dying comes, and it will to all of us, I believe we have something more after. I believe that there is a supreme being. I believe, according to the profession of faith, and I believe in the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. I believe in one God. I believe a personal, somewhat heretic belief that that one God may have